3, 2, 1.
What is going on, Southwest ISD? What is going on? My name is Brandon Medina. That is your athletic director, Mr. Peter Wagner, and you are tuned in to your number one stop shop for all things Southwest ISD athletics. This is Scoreboard, and we are happy to be with you. It is the week before spring break, a big week. Lots of great sports going on. The weather's beautiful, finally. Right, we're finally.
It is nice.
It's a little drizzly today, which is odd.
Great to have turf.
Great to have
In
turf.
fact, I just got a text literally from Coach Myler's like, it's paying off. It's kind of drizzling.
There we go.
And we're still hitting.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
And that ball is flying on that turf.
I don't know if it's flying. It's probably squish, squish.
Wow. Can I hear it one more time? Let me get the
Squish,
wow,
squish.
You know what? You should look into possibly doing voice acting. Voice acting for maybe a cartoon of sorts. I like it.
Of sorts.
Something like that. But we appreciate you tuning in. We have some conversations to get into. We also have a big recognition today that we're going to be talking about, that we're recognizing one of the best teams to ever grace Southwest ISD. And then we have some also really, really good teams happening right now. And so history has been made, and history is still in the making. And so let's get right into it, man. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with what's happening, the basics, right? Who's in the grind? Because everybody right now is in the grind. We got one more tournament weekend for baseball before they really hit it, and then softball is on to the regular
on the ground running.
They are on the ground, taking a long big lead.
Yeah,
after they throw the pitch because it's not baseball.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, that was terrible. By the way,
that was bad.
I
tried giving you one, and I
just
threw the alley oop, and you lost it. You lost the ball.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
Anyways, so softball's going on there Tuesday, Friday, regular stuff after spring break. So what's going on? And let's start with softball. How about that?
Sure. We talked about how it's paying off already. Our beautiful fields.
Our beautiful fields.
Let's jump right into the field.
We're still going with some of that. And so I guess. With that, when we talk about our beautiful fields, all of our scoreboards are up.
Yep.
You'll start seeing that. We still got a little bit of a learning curve on how we're gonna use them all and do those things. So bear with us a little bit, but they're up. They look awesome, and can't wait to see how much we get to use them, and the different things we get to do with them. In fact, after this, we're doing a little video,
get a little promo
and everything, doing a couple little promos, things like that for the boards. But softball is the Dragons took one on the chin on Tuesday night. It was 10-9. They got lost on a walk-off. I don't mean to throw some salt in the wound or anything like that. And in reading from our friends from RC Audio, had all of McCollum's runs were scored with 2 outs and everything. But I think the Dragons are kind of overachieving right now. They had a good tournament season. They had. They're, as usual, they're playing a really tough schedule, and they're playing some really good teams and competing really well. So they're doing that. They were at the Judson and the Judson Essential Tournament. Played some really good teams. Lost a close one to Eagle Pass. Won a couple close ones. Played a couple of state ranked teams. So really starting to get a groove on what they're doing. Their middle infield's really young with Tommy and sometimes Janiyah and those ladies. So really starting to gel, trying to pick up runs, manufacture runs, do those types of things. So they're 2-1 right now in district. Had a tough one with a couple of tough ones coming up too. But with McCollum, and McCollum's probably a playoff team. Have been for a little bit. They got a really good. They got a kid that signed with Purdue, things like that. So. Did really well competing. Now we got to take that next step, right? The Titans continue to rebuild. They are Coach Bocanegra's really. You're starting to see them compete. A similar McCollum team, they only lost by 3 runs. Right. And so they got a big win on Friday night against West Campus. Got a big win at home. Really excited for them. So they're starting to improve, and we'll see where we get to from there, but we're going from there in softball. Look for a good push, especially from the Dragons, and seeing a lot of growth on the Titans side. In baseball, The Titans got a big win on Tuesday with the win over Southside.
Nice.
Got in the win column. And then playing a really good South San team. South San always is good in baseball and everything. So they're 1-2 right now. Dragons took 2 on the chin to 2 of the better teams. Lost 5-4 in the opener. We've already talked about to win. Lost a game that wasn't as close as I thought it would be to Medina Valley, and that's kind of baseball. We'll see what happens when they come to our place in the second half of the season. But then picked up a big W against McCollum. I think it was 4-0. Got the bats out, played some good defense, things like that. And so had a good tournament. If you go back to last weekend, they had a pretty good tournament. Same for the Titans. Got a couple wins in the tournament. Couple big wins that where they didn't compete as well last year.
Yeah.
They got some really good young arms, a couple of freshmen that are really pitching well. So it's kind of who we can put on the mound, and then how well we can hit. When it comes to the Titans, and really both groups is, when you talk to Coach Myler, his top 3, 4, 5, they can really get it done. It's okay. What is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Yep.
Can they put the ball in play? Can they do the things that they need to do to execute to manufacture runs on the bottom side of the lineup? So getting into that playoff push a little bit, we're just starting to see those teams gel. We're starting to see what that race looks like. I think that in baseball, there's no telling. I mean, it's gonna be a lot like last year where probably
fluctuating throughout.
You never know who's going to beat somebody,
Right.
and there's really not we're going over here, we're going to get a win. You know what I mean? Everybody can beat everybody right now. It looks like Medina Valley's kind of the cream of the crop. But even them, they turn around, they beat us like 10-0 or something, beat the Dragons, and then they still got our Titans coming up, but they barely beat Harlandale 4-2.
Would you, as our athletic director of the district, would you say that baseball and softball might be the hardest to win a district championship in, at least right now this year?
I think that our district as a whole over
Right.
the course of the last few years is top to bottom more
Competitive?
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I would definitely
absolutely.
more competitive. I was trying
Across
to
the
decide if I
board.
wanted to use talented, but definitely more competitive from top to bottom.
Right.
That there's not as big of a difference between 1 and 8.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then we go to that second round, and there's a chance that other than Alamo Heights, that three or four of our teams are gonna win the next round. And I would say the same thing in softball. I think a year or two ago we went 4-0 in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it was a couple years ago. Now that second round is a little bit different.
Probably gets
you
a
know,
little more tough, yeah.
But that doesn't. It's not just baseball and softball. It's
Anywhere.
It's soccer.
Yeah.
It's basketball. We
Basketball.
saw it in
Yep, I
basketball.
was just gonna say that we saw in basketball.
It's always the same thing. When the Dragons were making their run in soccer, it was okay. We're gonna play the third place team from Leander, and those. Now we got to play the second place team from Leander and them.
Well,
And then if we make the finals, the regional finals, we might have to play Leander Glen.
Again, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, though that second round is a different story. But top to bottom in baseball and softball, yeah, I think anybody can beat anybody pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. I think baseball,
Especially
and softball,
baseball.
Yeah, baseball, and I think what do they always say? Kind of art imitates reality, right? And I think high school baseball is very similar to major league. Like it is a tough sport to go out and win week to week to week to week, right? Because like you said, your 1 through 5 might be on. What about the rest of the guys? The bottom of your lineup might have a great few games, and the top lineup struggling. Like it's hard to be consistently on all the time on all cylinders in baseball.
Baseball is a lot different than softball because of pitching,
Right.
because of the situation of you got to have at least, you get to district, you need 3 or 4 arms.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And you need 2 for sure, and everything.
And 2 that are like
and then
reliably
2 that
very good.
2 that
yeah.
can throw strikes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then you're gonna have to play defense if you're 1 and 2 or. And then with the pitch count situation, you can only throw so many pitches, and then you have to have so many days off. And
What is
all
that
kind of
situation for
stuff.
people who don't know? Because I
So
know we've
there's-
talked about it a little bit.
And I don't know the exact pitch count, but I know like you can throw once you throw over 120 pitches,
You're
you're
out.
done for 5 days. You can't
wow.
pitch.
Okay.
You can't pitch.
Right.
You can play anywhere else.
Sure,
you
sure.
just can't pitch. You can throw if you throw under 30 pitches, you can pitch the next game. But if you throw 30 to 50 or something like that, you got to have 2 days rest.
So there's
and
also some
there's
strategy
so many,
around that as
There's
well.
absolutely
Good.
some strategy, especially when you get to the playoffs and things like that. And that's why tournament season is so interesting, because you can't pitch people. You're going to play 5 or 6 games in 2 or 3 days. You need 6, 7, 8 arms to be able that can throw strikes. And so that 5th game sometimes is like, it looks like a CYO game, and you're just kind of like hoping we don't walk everybody and stuff like that, because you got to get across the plate. But whereas in softball, there's times when 3 or 4 years ago, we had one pitcher, you know what I mean, and they 1 or 2 pitchers, and you got one, and then you got one you're working on, and so they might have to come in here and there during your tournament time, but your pitcher's just like your shortstop basically, but they're the pitcher. That makes things a little bit different strategically. And if you have one really good pitcher, then you can do really good things just with one really good pitcher. Now, if you have 2 or 3, then that's a little bit different story. And that might be a pretty good segue as we're talking about softball, is to talk about Team 22 a little bit and what's going on. This is Thursday, so tonight at 7, we're going to recognize the 10-year anniversary of Team 22, the first team in any team sport at Southwest ISD that's gone to the state tournament.
Correct.
And everything. And so that's really big and exciting to see that.
And I think not only that, I think it's a private thing for the families and all that stuff, and I think it's really, really cool that we're celebrating them. But I think the fact that Dr. Ball, who's had a great career as a superintendent, right? Before that, assistant superintendent with Dr. Verstuff, was here for it, goes and does her thing at other school districts, wins Superintendent of the Year awards, all that good stuff, comes back and still wants to make this a focal point for because that feeling and that accomplishment doesn't just go away even 10 years later, right? I mean, we talk about that team on this podcast. That's 2014, right?
Yep.
On this podcast, we have talked about the basketball team of 2009, which was 5 years previous. So, I mean, those teams, I think, when you're living it, when it's happening, you don't realize how impactful that season can be for the future until here we are 10 years later.
Well, and something that as I get to speak tonight a little bit that I'll talk about is not just what happened then, but there's a lot of things that were created at that time, that we still kind of do. You can still see the remnants of that season. You know what I mean? From send-offs last year with the soccer team, and people do that now, but I mean that was like every week during that 2014 softball season. One, you got when James and them used to play the y'all gonna make me lose my mind and
we started that chat.
Yeah, you stand it. We
make shirts like people make shirts.
Yeah, and that still happens. And there's kids today that see that at football games when he plays it, they have no idea where it came from,
right,
and stuff like that. But there's still remnants of that, right? And then you take our fields after we went to that game. What people don't understand is those ladies didn't go to the state tournament with the softball field we have today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like literally you could conceivably make a pretty good argument that they built that field that we have today. Because after that is when Mr. Frazier and everybody's like, we ain't having this anymore. We took those stands out, built the stands up, we redid the field, we put a new scoreboard up there, things like that and that was around that time. Yeah. And then now you get turf. Now you get we were on the map at that point because we had flirted with going to state 2, 3, 4 years before that, the San Benito runs and things like that. And then boom, we go and those things happen. And not only that, but if there's some good books out there that'll tell you that's a spark for what comes after. You know what I mean? Right. And I look at like my daughter, she's sitting there in the front row watching Elizabeth Phillips, you know what I mean? she's this little blonde girl playing that, and she sees her and she's like, I want to play center field for the Dragons. And now everything she does is about playing center field for the Dragons. Because why? Because she saw Elizabeth Phillips.
Rocket for an arm.
Exactly. And so
shout out to Liz, one of my best friends too.
Yeah, but you can, I mean, and people would tell her the same thing.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You're weta.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they would call
mess
Liz.
with her, and Liz embraced it all.
Yeah,
And I think that's what was so cool. Is this
and so
team
Hannah
embraced-
was the same way. And so there was a set of girls over the last 10 years that were inspired by their run as well.
Correct.
And what they did. And so that whole legacy there is pretty important as well, and why we should celebrate it.
Absolutely. And I think that was my senior year. All those people, we've celebrated weddings, children being born into our friend groups nowadays, you know what I mean, all that good stuff. And I think looking at it, what was so fun about that team is, man, you look at a lot of those starters, right? You look at the Kaylas, the Elizabeth, the Camrys, right? Camry was a machine, and we were looking at, all those people had a personality too. Like every single woman on that team could do an interview. Every single one of them knew about the community, grew up with the community. And what was so cool, we've done a Beyond the Arches and a focus on the softball team that we have now. And I'll tell you what, there's a little spark when I showed up to do the shoot with my buddy Carlos and we recorded the softball team. It is a young team that has been playing together for a very long time. And looking at that team's camaraderie and looking at that team, I remember telling, before we even had this plan, I remember telling Carlos, our videographer, and I was like, man, this team has something. Like I don't know to what degree, but I'm saying as far as camaraderie alone, right? Versus having Coach Sandy, even Coach Sandy was like, there's remnants, right? It's not that team, but we're looking at as far as the vibe that this group carries and the trajectory it has being so young. It's all like freshmen, sophomores. The junior class is like maybe 7 kids. There's 2 seniors, and then the sophomore class is ridiculously long. So I was like, you're going to be able to grow at a high level, especially with Coach Sandy, and hopefully having this experience where they're able to break bread with the team who did it, I think is going to be really beneficial for this team to light a fire to like, hey, let's go. Let's see how far we can push ourselves in the future as well.
And I think that there's 2 things that we haven't talked about too, though, is that group, you take the most successful team at Legacy so far.
Right.
And that's the two years of softball that they won the district championship.
Correct.
You take the football team and then the softball team, and it's kind of interesting, right? Because that's kind of Southwest High School is kind of similar. So the most, the Titans have won a district championship in football. They've won two district championships in softball. And but if you look at the team that they won it with, at Legacy, you got Yaya's little sister, and stuff that was at Legacy, and then that whole friend group was in there. That those people from Audie, who was the catcher for the Titans when they were winning. You got Yaya's little sister. You got all of that kind of stuff, and so even that crew, the legacy to both of the amount of success at both Legacy and Southwest that was inspired by that Team 22 is pretty awesome. And then the last one that I'll never forget about this team was, and they didn't see it because they weren't there, but when we're rolling up, and mind you, we were playing the Woodlands. The Woodlands is
I remember
the Woodlands is not. I mean, they're coming from one of the most affluential areas of Houston, North Houston.
Correct.
And we roll up, and we're telling Mel and I, Trent Henson and I are telling Daryl Beasley, like, yo, I don't know if this place is big enough for us.
And
we're at UT.
Yeah, we're at UT, and we brought Southwest.
And so they're like, well, we only have this many tickets. You can only get this many because the Woodlands has to have their tickets. So you go half and half. They just split the stadium.
Correct.
And everything, right? So we get our half, and then we're like, well, the Woodlands got to go get theirs. All right. So they get this much. They go in there, they buy their tickets and everything, and they're like, there ain't no more. Okay, the rest of them are up, right? And then all of a sudden, here comes 7 Spirit buses, yellow dogs. They get out, and they're like, Dr. Versa's like, oh, just give me all the rest of the tickets. Here's the
Yeah, I remember that.
We'll take care of the rest later.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So here we go. And then the whole stands was Southwest with like a little
sliver, yeah.
a little sliver of the Woodlands.
I mean,
everything. It was just awesome.
And our friend group who started those chants, we also something we were talking about that the powder in the stands is something
and
that was softball. That was softball before football with our class, and because
of CAG Life.
Well, not just that, all of us who were there were football players, so we couldn't have started it at football because we were playing. So we started it at softball, and it carried on into the next year.
When it went to the next year to football and everything else.
But a lot of those traditions started there, and that's me.
And people don't even realize that because what do we do at legacy football games now? The powder,
exactly,
and everything else like that.
So it's generational, right? And I'd be remiss to not shout out my boy Christopher Sunshine Williamson, Jaden Johnson, me, Nigel Thompson. All of us were there, ride or die, just constantly out there. And I think you had.
I kind of felt like I had to I was like the guy was calm down.
Yeah. 100%.
Or when Elizabeth threw the thing, I can't remember if it was Mr. Sullivan or Jaden. It might have been both of them. I was like, y'all got to get off the fence.
Yeah.
Like, get off the backstop. Because, I mean, like, it was, if they could, we would have stormed the field that
100%,
day.
100%.
It would have been one of those, it would have been a field storming.
It was electric.
That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Was that, where was that at?
Was that at St. Mary's? Yeah, St. Mary's
Mary's
against San Marcos.
And then Liz went on to go play at St. Mary's. So that was just like very, very cool story. But I think, it's going to be fun, man. And I think we're going to have a lot of great content coming from it. I created some videos for them. I voiced over some stuff for them because I was there, man. So it's really fun to
that
see
opening
it.
video is going to be, it's
going to be cool.
I'm not going to lie to you. I saw
cool.
that and that was legit.
It's going to be cool. And so I think just the fact that
when y'all put that out on social media, that's going to, everybody's going to be like, all right, that's pretty good, Brandon.
It's going to be good.
I mean, you don't stink.
as much. Yeah. But we're excited. It's great that, Southwest ISD, we've had staff like yourself. You've had former students like myself who have come back. And there's this moment in time where, regardless if you were staff or students, it's one
of those, I remember where I was.
Right.
I mean, like I can tell you exactly where I was sitting.
Me too.
For that game.
Yep.
I can tell you who was next to me because I got put in charge.
I agree.
Mr. Frazier looked at me. He's like, "So you're the one that's going to make me behave or what?" And I was like, "Well, you signed my check, so you can do whatever you want, sir."
Listen, you know what, sir? I'm not the one that's going to say anything, but it is part of the job.
But,
Also, shout out to our boy Wade, man. Wade Raymond was out
still
there.
rolling.
Wade's still rolling, man. But our boy Wade was there too with us, and so but I think it's gonna be a fun time. Man. It's gonna be really, really fun, and I think it's well deserved to get their flowers 10 years later, 20 years later, whenever. I mean, you're the first to do it.
We replaced the banner since it was fading, so little 10-year refreshment.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, my mom, Booster Club president, then was. No,
I don't remember that.
Was no. Stop it! She's gonna call you out on it. That's my thing. But I remember we wrapped our car. We had a Team 22 full wrap. Like every player and coach's name was on the car. Like it was like the Spurs were winning the championship.
That may be overboard.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
I like it. That's the Medina trait. Go a little overhyped.
I feel like you might have been like the Allstate commercial guy.
That's what it was.
The mayhem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Save yourself a mayhem, like me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anything else that we want to get into besides softball, baseball? We had track, of course.
I think track's rolling. Seeing some really good times. Like Coach Alvarez at Southwest High School, and Coach Arguello and Coach Black and Coach Salinas are doing a great job. But on the girls' side, seeing some. We've improved a lot, I think, that'll be interesting. I think that as we move forward, some interesting times, some marks. You know what I mean? You got some people who are really up in there. You got at Southwest at the throws, you got Ty Friesenhan, and you got Noah Manzano who's throwing well in the discus. You still got your good ones that are jumping at, and then we got some, we got a softball player, Nova at Legacy had a 16-foot long jump that's going to be really competitive as we move forward. So lots of good things getting ready to start popping in track, and they're going to get that. They're going to go this week, and then they'll get that week off, and that's when you kind of get that recovery mode. and you'll start seeing times drop some more. So pretty excited about what's going on in track. And then finally, end it with soccer. The soccer push is happening right now. I think that the Dragons the boys have already locked up the district championship, and so they're getting out there trying to keep that. I mean, what's that streak at now? I think it was 60-something games. Feels like 10 games ago, so they're rolling into the 70s.
We're moving into triple digits.
Yeah, I mean, like it's starting to be like, this might be an ESPN 30 for 30 pretty soon.
Let me tell you a story.
Yeah, let me tell you.
A story.
You can't do that again,
Dude.
You
retired.
You
retired.
You have to go to state to get that.
You have to go to state to get that. That's right.
So anyway, the girls are in a fight. That one loss that they have, it's Medina Valley and Southwest for that. For the top spot now, and so that'll be interesting. And then a huge shout out to the Legacy Titan boys soccer team they beat Harlandale 1-0, which put them in they're behind by 1 point to Harlandale for second place. So the Dragons have won it, but second place is Harlandale at 24 points. Third place is Legacy at 23 points, and fourth place is. All of a sudden, I can't think of it. Medina Valley, Valley at 22 points, and so there's a whole lot left, and Legacy still plays Medina Valley. That's big, and so I really am. I mean, obviously, but I want to see a 1-2 Southwest ISD in boys soccer, and then on the girls side, you got the Dragons who are tied for first, but you also have the Lady Titans who are tied for fourth at 15 points.
Yeah. And
so a couple of big games coming up for them. Like I said when we started the season, I really think that we have a good shot to get all four of our soccer teams in. And outside of that fourth spot when they have to play Alamo Heights, the girls, that'll be tough. But, I mean, you could conceivably see 3 teams in the second round as well. And so that'll be really cool, possibly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I will say – one thing that we talked about weeks and weeks ago, but I want to bring it up one more time because their name keeps coming up. Next year, no Medina Valley, and we keep mentioning Medina Valley. If you have an opportunity, please come out, and you should be supporting Southwest ISD athletics regardless. But Medina Valley, who's been one of our historical, as far as like most competitive, I don't want to say rivals, but
it's your neighbor.
Your neighbor, yeah. We're right. We're close by.
I mean, there's some neighborhoods in our district where literally
it's
across
split,
the street is. I think there's one house in Lucky Ranch where it like goes down the middle of the house.
I think so. Probably, yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Depends where the bedroom's landing. Yeah, exactly.
So you're a Panther.
Yeah,
I'm a Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. And then but we're also switching that to where I grew up in Big Country Creewater area. We're jumping back into the John Jay rivalry, and there's literally that entire street leading to Pew Road. If you're on one side, you're going to Southwest ISD. If you're on the other, you're going to John Jay. So I think we're definitely going to be seeing more competition. But if you have family from Medina Valley, or you remember those Medina Valley matchups from the early on days when you guys were playing, and even looking into the later 2000s and 2010s when things are competitive, make sure you don't miss out on being able to see
I'll say this as they go when we wave bye to them and stuff, we're going out on top.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because if you look at just how we've, you take girls basketball at Southwest split with them, girls basketball at Legacy split with them this year, but they split girls soccer, but but Southwest football beat them.
Yep.
The year before that, Legacy everybody beat them. Tennis, the one that we've never beaten them. We've overtaken both schools.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like we're going out like, kudos.
Thanks for the memories.
Hey, thanks for the memories. Yeah. Enjoy 6A.
Enjoy 6A. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Probably will be going back soon.
As we are just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
But
we'll probably be switching places.
See you soon, buddy. Yeah. It's like the Toy Story ending with Woody's so long, partner. So long, partner.
Yeah. Until the sequel.
Until the sequel, exactly. Well, I appreciate anything else you want to get to before we get out of here, brother.
No, not. I'm sure that when we get done, I'll think of something. But
until then,
kudos to everybody. Thanks for coming out and supporting. Come out and see all our great facilities and our kids, and look forward to a nice spring break. You
Yes.
said the weather's nice. I'm gonna go watch my daughter in Wichita, Kansas for
That's
the
what I'm
whole
talking
week
about.
of spring break. And
What is spring
who
break?
goes to who goes
Wichita,
to-
Kansas.
Wichita,
Big spring break
big
location.
spring break place, man. Everybody's hopping, ready to roll in Wichita, Kansas.
Everybody's hopping, ready
Yeah.
to roll. Here we go.
Woo! 52 degrees
That's what I'm
and
talking
wind.
about. I bet you the Little Caesars is packed in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh yeah,
Just
the
parties going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time. Mhm.
Hell yeah, Wichita. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you guys later. That's Peter Wagner. My name is Brandon Medina. Thank you so much for tuning in every week and just supporting. And remember to come support Southwest ISD Athletics. And as always, we finish the show with 3 big words for Southwest ISD, and that is, we are
Southwest.
3, 2, 1.